The worm body plan is probably the most common body plan in nature. Let me show you. We start with the animal kingdom. You can classify animals into smaller groups. The one you're most familiar with is chordata, the vertebrates. Wormy vertebrates include lampreys, eels, snakes and caecilians. Then you've got arthropods, which are the insects, crustaceans, arachnids and other crawly things. Pretty much all insect larvae use the worm body plan. Next we have platyhelminths, which are the tapeworms and fluteworms. There's the nematodes, i.e. the roundworms, and the annelids, i.e. the segmented worms like your common or garden earthworm. In the echinodermata phylum, which is mostly starfish, you've got the sea cucumbers. Next we have Chaetognatha, the arrowworms. We've got the hemichordata, which are the acorn worms, and the nematomorpha, which are the horsehair worms. Don't forget the priapulida, commonly known as penis worms because they look like floating disembodied penises. There's also Acanthocephala, the spiny-headed worms, and, well, you get the idea. There's even a jellyfish with a worm body plan called Buddenbrockia. It's a parasite of terrestrial animals. Parasites often involve weird body plans. I think it's fair to say then that most species of animal are worms. Why is this? Is it purely because the last common ancestor of all animals was a worm, or is it because the worm body plan is greatly advantageous to survival? Or is it a nuanced mix of both ideas which will allow me to speculate about interesting aspects of evolutionary biology and, of course, aliens? The worm body plan is pretty basic as body plans go, so let's start with the basics. The most important thing an animal must do is eat things. The animal must then release energy from these things so that it can carry on being alive, because all life is driven by a flow of energy. To absorb the nutrients from your food, you need to make contact with it, so you need a digestive surface. The larger the area of this surface, the more contact it makes with the food, so the more efficient the digestive process. So let's imagine an animal with the simplest topology, a sphere. The lower half of its surface is for digestion. To eject the undigested waste products, our spherical creature just unfolds. This is simple, but inefficient, because it means our spherical creature can only eat one thing at a time, and must wait until that thing is fully digested, which is a slow process anyway, before it can let it go and eat something else. In short, the problem is that this kind of digestive system is one way only. What's the easiest way to solve this problem? Poke a hole in the sphere. Turn it into a donut, mathematically called a torus. Things can pass through the torus, so we have an input and an output. Much better. The problem now is that only the inner region of the torus is acting as a digestive surface. Our new digestive surface has a very small area. So how do we solve this? Well, by stretching out the torus, a cylinder, or in biological terms, a worm. Even humans have a cylindrical digestive system. Topologically speaking, we are just oddly shaped donuts. Since the cylindrical digestive system is so efficient, we should probably expect it to crop up all over the universe. Yes, the universe might be teeming with worms, and maybe even philosophising worms with arms and legs, like us. Because the torus is such a simple topology, it's probably also quick to evolve, especially given the digestive advantages. Not having to grow extra appendages is a good way to conserve your resources. Are there other advantages? Most phyla of worms seem to be marine. Worms are good at wiggling their way through water. If you stick some bristles on your worm to give it some traction, then your worm can also be good at burrowing through sand or soil. It's a very adaptable design, so it seems there's more to the worm body plan than mere simplicity. We must therefore ask, did the first animals use the worm body plan? Here's a cladogram of the animal kingdom, the tree of life which shows at what points different groups of animals branched off. On the far left you can see the choanoflagellates, which are considered the closest unicellular relatives to the multicellular creatures we call animals. Then next to it you can see that the first group of animals to branch off was porifera, which are the sponges. So the answer is no, worms were not the first animals. In fact, porifera have a single opening digestive system, similar to what I described earlier. Water carrying food enters through lots of tiny holes, the ostia, in the wall, then exits the main hole at the top, called the osculum. The next group of animals to branch off were the cnidarians, which include corals and jellyfish. Their digestive system is even more similar to what I described earlier, because their mouth is the same hole as their anus. By the way, strictly speaking, this isn't really a specialised digestive system, it's actually the lack of a digestive system. After the cnidaria, then you start to get the worms, the platyhelminths and nematodes. So worms are not necessarily first to evolve, but they must always evolve soon after, as the animals grow larger and require the specialised digestive systems that provide more energy for locomotion. That's my take on the worm body design then. Thanks for listening.